Hello, everyone. Today we have Enrique Sánchez Bautista as our invited speaker for our November seminar. Enrique works in Belgium and as the Brussels office coordinator of Quantum Flagship, and also he's the head of policy in the European Physical Society. Today he'll talk to us about quantum technology initiatives in the European Union. So thanks, first of all, Enrique, for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Beatriz. Thank you very much for everyone. It is a great pleasure being here because actually I like once in a while going back to school, as I said, and then just returning and with and getting in contact with, let's say, junior postdoc, master students, PhD students, because at the end you are the backbone of the future that we will have in this very exciting field. So the talk today, I'm going to share my screen, so I will need you please to tell me whether you can see my screen or not. Okay, so I guess you can see my screen. Is that right? Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, all fine, Enrique.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, okay, as Beatriz mentioned, thank you very much for your introduction, Beatriz. I am my path, actually, I did my PhD in ICFO, in the Institute of Photonic Sciences in Barcelona. And after working for the European Commission for a while, developing the policies on, or some of the policies in quantum technologies for space back in 2017, then probably you may have heard about well, for sure you have heard about the Quantum Flagship initiative. So then we have an office in Brussels, and I am actually coordinating this office, running many of the activities that are happening not only in the Quantum Flagship, but let's say other initiatives happening in parallel in quantum technologies in Europe. Okay, so then I want to briefly introduce about the Quantum Flagship. I'm sure that you have heard about that. It was launched in 2018 with the aim of consolidating and expanding the scientific leadership and excellence in quantum research, as well as kickstarting a competitive European industry landscape, trying to be the leaders on this field. As you may know, we have different, let's say, competitors, a healthy competition between the United States with China and other actors in the planet. Okay, so in Europe, we have definitely a great, let's say, the research community, we can say that we're the strongest in the world. In industry, we are lagging behind a little bit with United States and with China. China, it's true that it's a bit less known, okay, because things are, let's say, there is not a lot of exchange of information with what's happening in China. But of course, as continue with the objectives of the Quantum Flagship, aims at making Europe a dynamic and more attractive region for businesses, research, etc. So how this started? It started, as I mentioned, in 2018 with the ideas of let's say, growing from the framework program. The framework program is the research program that every 7 years is funding the whole research ecosystem in Europe. So it was designed with the idea of having mainly 5 pillars, which are science, computation, simulation, communication, and sensing, okay? And then all these, it is related, okay, with some policies for space, which of course, as you may know, that quantum communications for space are a very important field within quantum communications, as well as creating an infrastructure for basically for researchers, but also for industry, using the network that is called high performance computing. I'm sure that you have you know that in Barcelona we have one of the main centers of this network, that is the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. And then in this center at the moment we are installing one of the, it's not 7 now, we are by 9 quantum computers that we will have within the one of the infrastructures in quantum computing, that we will go to that in a while. Of course, the development of the researchers, the early career investigators and researchers that in the future will feed all this market, it's also very important, and that's why there are some policies also in education that are being put in place, and that's actually why it is very important that I am now with you transmitting this information to the young generations. Of course, the member states, okay, they have particular programs. In particular, for example, the Spanish government is at the moment drafting the Spanish strategy for quantum technologies. There are other countries such as Germany, France, Italy is actually working on the drafting the national strategy for quantum technologies. Okay, we will go that in a while. There are other institutions called Euramed that are the centers for metrology, okay, in Europe, as well as the European Space Agency, and there are some programs for international cooperation. So first of all, within all this ecosystem, then we have the network called Quantera. Quantera was one of the precursors of the quantum flagship. It was launched in 2016, and then it was using one of the administrative instruments that the European Commission has for research, which are called the ERA-NET co-fund initiatives. Then we invested 67 million from the European Commission, as well as the national funding initiatives. Thanks to this initiative of Quantera, there were about 50 projects that were funded, okay, that are actually running in different waves. And actually today, still we have the Quantera program running in parallel to the quantum flagship. So these are some of the results. Once the quantum flagship was launched in 2022, it was marked the so-called, it was the end of the so-called ramp-up phase. The quantum flagship was a program designed for 10 years long, with €1 billion in investment from the European Commission. In 2022, it was the end of the so-called ramp-up phase, like despegue in Spanish will be. So after these 4 years, we presented in the quantum flagship all the results that the quantum flagship projects were presenting or were giving to the society, let's say. So as you can see, there are results in quantum communications, in quantum simulation, sensing metrology, computation, and basic science. I will leave this information for the public once the presentation is uploaded in YouTube. So then, of course, one of the things that were sorry, I'm going to here. So we arrived to almost 100 qubit analog systems that was created in Forschungszentrum Center in Jülich, in the research center where I am now affiliated. Okay, so as I mentioned, in the quantum flagship office in Brussels, we do much more than the quantum flagship. I know that if you are at a PhD level, I remember when I was PhD student, I was not aware of, let's say, what was the source of the funding of my research. I knew that my research was being funded, that there were some European Union that was funding my research, or the national government that was funding this, but I didn't have a clear, let's say, the big picture of where the money was coming from and the different initiatives and implications of this and that. And with this, with this presentation, I want to give you more information of what is the global picture, what is the quantum flagship, what are the different initiatives in the European Union, and then how all this ecosystem works and the interlinks between different initiatives. Sorry. So quantum flagship, as I mentioned, is research budget. And this is very important. Research budget is one piece of legislation, as we say in Brussels, that has a regulation for researchers and industries that are doing research with the objective of doing research. Then later we have other budgets that are Digital Europe. Okay, as you can see here in this dot curve that we see, we have Horizon Europe, which is research program, and then Digital Europe, which is infrastructure program. An infrastructure program has, of course, other budget that is not especially for doing research, but for making infrastructures that other citizens in Europe, but also industries, researchers as well, but these are infrastructures for the benefit of the whole European citizens and entities. So at the beginning, in 2018-2019, we started with the budget for research in the quantum flagship, okay, in which the fundamental research and there was some technology supply that was funded. But with the time in which the technology was being more mature and mature, then with the Digital Europe program, then we developed the Advanced Digital Skills program, as well as the Quantum Communication Infrastructure, that is a program that aims at interconnecting the capital cities of the European Union with quantum communications, ground communications, okay, with fiber optics in order to, let's say, provide an additional layer of security for secure communications for governmental purposes, as well as the quantum computing and simulation infrastructure, as I mentioned here, thanks to the Euro HPC network. Okay, so then how all this ecosystem, let's say, it is somehow organized internally. You, as a researcher, normally are not aware of how all these things are actually happening. But let's say in Brussels, we deal very much with what we call strategic documents, which are the strategic research agenda that this was launched in 2019, as well as the key performance indicators for quantum technologies, or the strategic research and industry agenda. Okay, these three documents, which are actually big booklets, they contain, or let's say we work on the creation of these documents after putting together mainly all the researchers in the field of quantum technologies and industry together, that they write literally the content of these documents. All these documents you can download it from the website of the Quantum Flagship, because these three documents are the backbone, are driving the strategy of the development of quantum technologies in the future. So for you to know, once you are somehow becoming more senior researchers, that is more necessary to have all this global picture. Okay, reading these documents is typically recommended, so you can focus more your research in where you know the money is coming, because at the end, as a researcher, one of the obligations that we have is working to fund our research. Okay, so let's continue. Here, I know, okay, this was the presentation of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda 2030. Here, I have to say that this document was very interesting, but one thing that we can see on this picture is that the gender balance, or better said, the gender imbalance, was extremely shameful. Okay, I am very happy that we are advancing in gender equality, in particular in this field, because if in physics, or let's say in STEM disciplines, we are already with a certain unbalance, in quantum technologies, I see that this unbalance is even more pronounced. And then one of the activities that we're doing in the quantum flagship is working towards reducing this gap, in particular in the quantum community network, which is one of the governing bodies of the quantum flagship, where I am actually the one that I am actually coordinating. We have implemented one policy to, let's say, forcing the quotas of 50% of representatives from member states. Okay, so what the European Commission, what's their commitment? Okay, what's their objective, the goal? Here you will see the different stages in which in here in research and innovation in this line. By the way, can you see my pointer of the mouse or not? Can you?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, you see okay, very good. So I will use it as focus your attention, because now in research and innovation, as you can see, we had the ramp up phase of the quantum flagship. Then now we are in the technology demonstration phase. This was funded with Horizon 2020, now with Horizon Europe. And then we will have the technology implementation that we will be in 2028, 2029. The Digital Europe program, as I mentioned, it is indicated for infrastructures, in which we are having the so-called pilot lines for simulation, generation of the first quantum computers, generation of the second, the second generation for quantum computers. This is actually happening now, because they are already being installed in the different high-performance computing centers that we have in Europe, including, as I mentioned, the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. And then we are in the European Quantum Communication Infrastructure. We are in the first phase. And then soon we will start the operational deployment, what we call. Okay. At the same time, in parallel, we are launching the so-called pilot lines. Okay, that they will be open and testing facilities for production of the capacities. Okay, for producing the chips that we will need for the computers, for the communication devices, etc., etc. Because, as you for sure know, quantum technologies are one of the so-called sovereign technologies. We are in one moment in geopolitics in which we are not cooperating that much in certain technologies. Okay, being quantum one of these technologies in which there is no cooperation, or there's slight cooperation with United States, with Australia, with Japan, or with the United Kingdom, for example. There is no cooperation at all with Russia, China, etc. And this is actually manifesting in the fact that we need to produce the devices in Europe. Okay, and then of course the European Union is aware of these issues, and then for that they are putting in place these programs for producing the capacities, as well as what we call the QT fund, which are dedicated funds for funding the quantum ecosystem, mainly startups and maturing the companies that we have currently. So I want to describe more in detail the quantum computing and simulation infrastructure, okay? Which for at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, there are 11 centers that will host or are starting to host, or because are different speeds in which quantum computers are being installed. They will be classical quantum simulators and hardware run in HPC machines, as well as there will be also quantum computers running in parallel on these places. We are for the moment not limiting this infrastructure to one specific technology, because still we're having let's say centers are allowed to choose either ion traps or spin qubits, photonic qubits, neural atoms, the different platforms. Okay, there are of course some limitations with respect to what are their providers, okay, because they cannot use external providers from outside of the European Union, but of course they can use from inside of the European Union. And then we also have the quantum communication infrastructure. I'm sure that at least some of you have seen this this slide before. That of course aims at integrating quantum cryptography into critical communication systems. Is up to the countries, up to the member states to decide what are their critical infrastructures to secure. Okay, I am actually advising the Spanish government in some of these initiatives. And then, for example, let's say Spain considers that power grids, hospitals, governmental institutions, and so on and so forth, they are let's say they deserve or they have to be secured with quantum communications. There are other countries that for their geography, they prefer to secure only ABCD institutions. That's completely up to them, and it's a sovereign decision of the countries to decide what infrastructures they want to secure. The European Commission, the directive of the European Commission is that countries, they decide what they want to secure, and the Commission, the European Commission, is providing a framework of cooperation between, let's say, what's happening between the last node in the south of the Pyrenees and then the first node in the north of the Pyrenees with France. Okay, because although it seems a bit obvious, but it's not, putting together, for example, the services of France and Spain, and then making a framework of collaboration in which the two nodes, the last one of Spain and the first one of France, they have to cooperate. That's not straightforward. Okay, and then that's what the European Union is providing, a common framework for cooperating between them. So we also have in all this ecosystem the Quantum Industry Consortium. This was actually, I'm very proud of saying that we created this Quantum Industry Consortium in Europe. Why we need a Quantum Industry Consortium in Europe first? Back in 2020, this was actually with COVID. Okay, it started with COVID. It was clear that the European Union needed a common voice for the industry in Europe, because when you have an ecosystem that is not, let's say, gathered, okay, or clustered around one voice, then there are different voices, and then sometimes it is necessary and it is much more convenient for policymakers to have one single voice around that represents all the industry. Okay, that's why actually there are workers' unions, there are different industry associations for many different sectors, and in particular in quantum technologies, we didn't have any consortium, and that's why thanks to this need, okay, that we had in the European ecosystem, then we decided to facilitate the creation of this consortium. Then we created it finally. It was launched in 2021. And then at the moment, this consortium has, this is the very last information that I have, because there is always new members that are in and out, but there are 185 members, all from European countries. Okay, when I say from European countries, is because there are other members from Switzerland and from the United Kingdom. But as you can see, there are 148 members from the European Union, and then there are 37 members from other European nations. And by the way, I'm sure that in this set of logos that you can see here, there are many companies that you know or you are aware of, you are actually cooperating, etc. So, industrializing. Research is important, but in order to create a solid and in order to cope with the objectives that we mentioned with the quantum flagship, okay, industrializing is very important. Why? Because at the end, public money, that is what the European Commission is putting, or the national governments that are introducing in this field, they can facilitate the process with research and they can accompany the process. But of course, industrializing to facilitate the creation of devices at industrial level that are actually financially profitable. That's a different story that not always in research is well done, and there are many good examples of industrializing in a very good way. And I have to say that in quantum computing, in quantum technology, in general, the process of industrializing is running at good shape, is running well, and is going and is moving forward quite successfully. Here in these pictures, I am showing some of the examples of quantum chips that are actually being developed, that are being industrialized. And the importance of these pictures is because actually we have done a couple of initiatives in the European Parliament, okay, to include quantum chips inside of the CHIPS Act. I'm not sure if you have heard about the initiative that the European Union launched in 2022 because since there was this shortage of microchips after the COVID, okay, because in Europe we don't really manufacture many of the microchips that we are using every day in our phones, in our computers, etc. Then the European Union launched the the CHIPS Act, the Microchips Act, the regulation that aims at developing the capacities for manufacturing microchips in Europe. So one of the things that I want to show you, you may see this guy here, okay, that is my boss, okay, and this is actually in the cafeteria of the European Parliament. I'm not sure if you have been here, but let's say in my back, because I'm taking this picture, so in my back is the cafeteria. This is on the 3rd floor, and then in here in this blue side is where is the TV studio, where the members of the European Parliament are having interviews, etc. So here we are showing this to one of the members of the European Parliament, what is actually a quantum computer. As you can see, of course, this is not a real quantum computer, it's just a mock-up, but it's a mock-up that we created, and then we were literally putting this mock-up on the table of members of the European Parliament, putting on the table and saying, look, this is a model of a quantum computer, this works in this way, in this other way, and then this microchip that you can see here, for the moment, is not being produced in the European Union. It's being produced in the United States, in China, etc., etc. And then in the regulation of on the chips, we need a particular mention to quantum chips, okay? So in these activities, this was a period of about 6 months in which we were mentioning the need of the dedicated chapter of quantum chips inside of the CHIPS Act. Then we organized this event here, the picture that you can see in the center. We have here an MEP from Bulgaria, from Germany, from Estonia, from Spain. That's the Director General of DG Connect, which is a sort of ministry in the European Union. And then here we can see Vice President Vestager, which is the former Vice President of the European Union. And then you can see that we organized one workshop in the European Parliament talking specifically about this. So this is one of the slides that we presented in the European Parliament, saying, well, we need a dedicated activity line for quantum chips inside of the Chips for Europe initiative. Okay, the designing libraries, having pilot lines for integration, reducing the entry barrier for production of quantum components, as well as accelerating the innovation, and also building testing and experimentation facilities for validation, innovation feedback loop, etc., etc. So after all this process, I am pasting for you here this actually screenshot of one of the articles in this regulation, in which you can see the definition of a quantum chip. Okay, that means a device that processes information at the level of individual atom quantum systems, etc., etc. This definition does not exist, or let's say didn't exist before it was done. This definition was done by the community and was introduced in this regulation specifically. Okay, so as I mentioned, then all this is with the ultimate objective of having quantum internet in 2030. The fact that we will arrive or not, well, we are definitely on the process, but in order to have quantum internet, of course, we need quantum computers, we need quantum simulators, quantum sensors, repeaters, nodes, quantum memories, and I know because, for example, I follow very closely what's happening in the Institute of Photonic Sciences, and I know that at least some of you are from the Institute of Photonic Sciences, that all this research is happening, but I'm sure that your research is going about these topics, at least some of these topics. And then, of course, this is very necessary in order to contribute to this ultimate goal. So what's the strategy, okay, that is being put in place now by the European Union in order to make Europe what we call the quantum valley of the world? Okay, this was a process that started to happen last year. Okay, we had a commissioner. Commissioners in the European Union are the equivalent of ministers at national level. Okay, so we had, sorry, that something is happening on, yeah, that's right. So we used to have in the European Union a commissioner that was called Thierry Breton. He was the person responsible for quantum technologies inside of digitalization technologies, like digital technologies. So he launched his European strategy for quantum technologies. At the end, it was presented just one document that included this set of points that we can see here, that it was a set of initiatives for leadership in quantum technologies, leadership in the quantum network system, enablers, as well as creating a framework for coordination and governance. I'm sure that you may have seen, okay, that in order to, let's say, make this possible, making Europe the quantum valley of the world, that was launched by Commissioner Thierry Breton last year, we organized within the context of the presidency of the European Union in Spain, we organized this event in Madrid that was on the 22nd of November, that was called the Quantum Technologies in Europe Conference, okay, with the objectives, among other things, to discuss shaping the Europe strategy of Europe in quantum technologies. We can see that in this roundtable, we had a couple of the most prominent figures of quantum technologies in Europe. We have Professor Seilinger, we have Enrique Lizaso, that is the CEO of the currently the largest quantum software company in the world. And we had Serge Haroche, etc. Of course, Ignacio Cirac as well. So in this context, okay, we created, or let's say Thierry Breton facilitated the creation of the European Declaration on Quantum Technologies. That is a document that you can download in the link that is included below, in which the countries that are signing, okay, they agreed on following a set of points, okay, that are actually described here. These points that I have mentioned here are actually points that are included in the Quantum Declaration. Here in this picture, that it was taken on the 5th of December 2023, then we can see Thierry Breton, that is actually this guy, and also we can see this person here, this lady, that is the State Secretary for this digitalization, artificial intelligence, and also with the portfolio of quantum technologies in Spain. Her name is Carme Artigas, and she was the person in charge of presenting this European Declaration on Quantum Technologies back in 2023 during the Spanish presidency of the European Council. Then this quantum declaration, okay, was finally presented and launched on the 22nd of March in Brussels. Okay, and here you can see this picture in which this guy that you can see on the on this picture is the Deputy Director General of DigiConnect. So his level, it will be like Deputy State Secretary for digital technologies in Europe. Okay, and of course the portfolio of quantum technologies is within his capacities. Okay, here I am actually quoting some of the parts of the European Declaration, in which, as you can see, it said that by 2027 we should have an EU-wide terrestrial quantum distribution network integrating in the existing telecommunications network. For EuroQCI, this was within some of the context of the activities that they were presenting during this event in March. Okay, here I have passed for you the European Declaration on Quantum Technologies that you can see. They are these points that I mentioned in my previous slide, but here in the format of the Brussels language. Okay, I know that sometimes what's happening in Brussels is it's difficult to translate into real actions. Okay, this is very much the EU jargon, as we mentioned. Okay, because let's say there is what's happening in Brussels, there is always some technical component together with diplomacy component together with quantum technologies. Okay, so I'm sure that you have seen this slide before that is summarizing, okay, the quantum efforts worldwide that are being in terms of public investment. Okay, it is actually not well updated in the sense that there is always updates here and there. There are different programs in Spain, for example. This the 60 million is what is confirmed according to some of the regulations of the Resilient Recovery Fund for COVID. Okay, but there is a dedicated fund of about another 200 millions that is a bit blurry how companies can benefit out of it, but they let's say there are conditions that are being used. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a relatively good picture of the total efforts that are globally in quantum technologies, which are close to the $40 billion in the latest estimations. So what's happening in Spain? I'm sure you have seen about the Quantum Spain program, that this was in particular one program launched by this lady, Carme Artigas, the State Secretary for Inteligencia Artificial, Artificial Intelligence and Digitalization in Spain. In the Basque Country, okay, they have a program that now it's called Be Kind, okay, the Basque Q now it has become Be Kind. They have an actually very, very, very decent program that was presented. This was 2 months ago. I was invited to participate in the presentation with the member of the parliament, let's say the president of the Diputación, what they call in the provinces of the Basque Country. Okay, they have a very decent program. Also in Madrid, there is the MATQCM. There is also a regional strategy that are being launched in quantum computing. And I want to highlight here this report of Spain quantum industry that it was done by AMETIC. AMETIC is the Spanish associations of the TIC industry, the information science. Okay, so also as I am here in my audience, that you are, as I mentioned, the PhD, you are the future of the workforce in Europe. then I want to highlight this data that was released like last week by the European Quantum Readiness Center, okay, that belongs to the Quantum Flagship, in which we can see the growth of, well, I want to show you like the picture of how is evolving the global market in this particular field. I have to say, I would love very much, you know, coming back in time like 10 years ago and then being in the moment that you are now, because this moment is extremely, extremely exciting in the sense there are so many opportunities, by the way, very well paid, and then a very interesting job market that's happening. And this is actually reflected on the data that I'm going to show. Okay, so in Europe, we were making the study of the evolution of the quantum master programs happening in Europe. And then you can see this evolution in which, of course, these master programs are always joined to faculties of either computer science or engineering or actually physics or joint faculties. As you can see, this growth has been growing almost exponentially over the last years. And then here we have per regions, okay, what are actually the number of programs. So we have, in particular, in Europe, we have 32 master programs only for quantum technologies, not only, let's say, quantum technologies within quantum, let's say, quantum physics in a more broader sense. Okay, and then we see as well what are actually the outcomes of these master programs, because of course then later we can see here for what are the job perspectives, okay, if we can say like this. So then we can see that most of the this master student that are finalizing their programs, about 50 yes, on these programs, then we can see that more than 55 are actually going to academic research, but there are also other fields in which quantum technologies is having a great presence. By the way, you can also download this full study here in this link. Also, all this ecosystem is evolving so much and is going in a very, very, let's say, promising direction. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. So, well, there is a very meaningful evolution of the number of national but also regional strategies, as we can see here in this let's say line, in which every year there is a set of new regional and national strategies that are being created. Okay, and then you can see that only in 2023 in these countries there were a launch of either national or regional strategy. So then what are the industry needs and the skill analysis? What are, let's say, the main countries in which there is a job creation? Okay, in the EU27, we're doing well in job creation, okay, because actually here you can see, well, as it's not surprising that United States is the country in which there is more creation of quantum technologies, and then we have United Kingdom in the second place, but Germany, the Netherlands, France, Spain, that are, let's say, well positioned within this list. Also, the distribution of companies, let's say, what are the type of companies that students, or let's say that are hiring professionals in quantum technologies, as we can see. Then in the United States, large companies are actually hiring more professionals in quantum technologies. This actually in the European Union is going more into intermediate size companies, but this is also just a reflection of the fact that the sector in quantum technologies in Europe are medium-sized companies. Okay, if we go to this data and then we just basically see on the surface layer, we know that we have Google, we have IBM, that these companies standalone, they are hiring many of the professionals, and that's why actually we're having these numbers. But in any case, I just want to express this as a very optimistic future that you will face, because as I mentioned, the job creation is actually being very promising. Okay. So here as well, I want to highlight like for technology pillars. Okay, and then where again we have, so in computing and simulation, then we have more hiring in the United States, but then later in Europe. In hardware and materials, we are actually having more hirings in the European Union than in any of the other United States of other countries. In communications, there are more in United States, as well as sensing and metrology. Okay, and then this is just to finalize that what are more or less the fact that in the European Union there is somewhat more academic positions than in Europe. Okay, so the proportion is being bigger in Europe. This is actually responding to the reflecting our landscape, in which research is actually stronger and has more tradition than any other place in the world. Okay, so it makes actually sense that there are more hirings in research. And then just to finalize here, we can see that United States is for the moment hiring more bachelor's and PhD level, while in the European Union they are now hiring more master level. Okay, so this is actually something I wanted to reflect, because it's also important to see how the global markets are evolving, globally speaking. And then with this, I just want to finalize my presentation, and I am more than open to any question that you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Now I would like to open the room for questions. So if anyone has a question, they can just open your microphone and go ahead.
Okay, then I guess that I will continue with the presentation just in case I need to use it. So please make me questions.
Okay, maybe I'll start with one question that I had.
Yes.
You said that all this whole quantum flagship initiative had like a 10-year expected length. And since we're already like in the 6th year of this initiative,
Yep.
I would like to know what do you think is going to happen afterwards when this finishes by like 2028, which means like in terms of investment, or what do you think the European Union is going to, how do you think they are going to address this quantum world?
The quantum future. Okay, so this is actually a great question. So look, the quantum flagship was it's just a stepping stone to something bigger. Okay, so this is beyond quantum technologies. So when something in research becomes very important for European technology, globally speaking, it evolves to other mechanisms or other initiatives that are sort of more solid. So we started with the quantum flagship. That was, as I said, a stepping stone to convert it into possibly a so-called joint undertaking. Okay, and it can even become something bigger, because you probably have seen on the news that today it has been the confirmation of the new European Commissioner, the College of Commissioners. So there will be one commissioner that is actually vice president. Before, as I mentioned, we used to have Thierry Breton, that he was commissioner, like ministry level. But then in this new legislature of the European Parliament, we're going to have an executive vice president, that is Henna Virkkunen from Finland, that she is vice president for digital technologies and security. So let's say that it means that there is an upgrade from the previous legislature to this one, in which digital technologies, they have a higher level inside of the government of the European Union, because now our commissioner, it has vice president rank, and quantum technologies actually are a very important part of her portfolio, as she described in one speech that each of the candidates, by that time this was done like two weeks ago, Henna Virkkunen mentioned on her speech that she wants to make a more solid EU quantum strategy for Europe, as well as possibly a quantum act. So when I say a quantum act, means a regulation, as we saw for the microchips, then one law that is, let's say, obliged to cope for all the European Union. For the moment, we have a European declaration. Declarations, okay, I know that this is, let's say, far from what's research, but a declaration is a wishful document, if we can say, in the sense countries can sign, but they are not obliged to do it. I mean, normally in diplomacy, when you sign a declaration, it's because you are willing to do so. But regulation is something different. It's something that is done and is mandatory for everyone, no matter whether you agree or not. Okay, so then this is actually a higher level that we are in the way to get. And then the quantum flagship, as I mentioned, aims at evolving into something more solid, having some, let's say, stable finance, okay, via the coordination with the national programs. That there are a couple of working groups, that this is something that I haven't mentioned on my presentation, but there are working groups running in the background, in which there are people responsible for each of the member states, in which they coordinate the efforts at European level in order to, let's say, making flourish in this field, okay? Not only for research, but for industrialization, for infrastructures, for defense, etc. And then the logical evolution of the quantum flagship should be the so-called joint undertaking, which is an instrument that secures continuous finance over the years. But then who knows, then probably it goes to something even more stable than that. Just to give you an example, the high performance computing, okay, in Europe, now it has the legal form of a joint undertaking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So there might be some hope in this. Does anyone else have a question?
Yes, but I have one.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you for the talk. I'd like to ask you about, because what you explained right now, I lost track of the ultimate objective of this consortium in scientific terms, because you gave a super long answer, but scientifically, what do you expect with all this and with this huge amount of money, which I have understood it's from public money, right? It's public funding. So first of all, what's the objective in scientific terms, sorry? And what are the sources of funding, if you're open to private funding? And also, if you're open to do so, what's the main, the main argument you have to a private company or people, some kind of funds to invest in this kind of projects?
So let's say I am the office that I represent is actually government. It's, let's say, it is, although I do not belong to the European Union, but the quantum flagship is a program of the European Union. So let's say this is not a consortium, it is just one initiative of the European Union that aims at developing quantum technologies, globally speaking, in Europe. Okay, so why is that? Well, in order to have quantum technologies, they have there is research, but there is a potential of creating industry, and then later create jobs in the European Union that eventually will return money in taxes for the European citizens, right? So then the whole chain is we are in research, then later you industrialize, then you create patents, then you create jobs, and then we create mature technologies, and then we develop better the European society, globally speaking. So what I tried to describe in this presentation, it was what are the initiatives of the European Union in order to accomplish globally the objective of developing this sector, this industrial sector, if we can say, because it's not only research at the moment, but it's just research and industry all together. Okay, but also education, because we need to educate the workforce that in the next decade, okay, they will work in this field. Okay, and you being PhD students, you are definitely one of the potential workers or researchers in these fields. I don't know, Alvaro, if I was able to answer your question or
yeah, kind of. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Are there more questions?
Okay, I think this is it. I would like to thank you, Enrique, for the talk and for having this time for us. And thanks everyone who attended. And
Okay.
maybe see you soon.
Very
Bye.
good.
Thank you.
Very good. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.